You're watching Inside the Right. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, longtime Republican operative Tim Miller. So this episode is going to be a fun one. We have an entire rundown of the most humiliating things that have happened in politics this week. So we'll start with the best one here, Tim. You all may have seen South Dakota Governor and Trump's VP contender, Kristi Noem's dentist infomercial. If you haven't, here's a quick clip.
Well, hi, I'm Kristi Noem. I'm the governor of South Dakota and had the opportunity to come to Smile, Texas to fix my teeth, which has been absolutely amazing. For years, I have needed to have an adjustment to my teeth from a biking accident, and they have been absolutely phenomenal. I'll be eternally grateful. It has been a gift to be here at Smile, Texas.
And she got a wave of blowback on that because why is a sitting governor doing an infomercial for veneers in Texas? And then she did this.
We are at Fit My Feet in Rapid City, and these guys are amazing. They have totally built me inserts for running, separate ones for my cowboy boots. I'm going to be perfect. I'm going to be like Bionic Woman now, right?
Right.
So come see these guys out in Rapid City. Actually, what towns are you in?
Rapid City, Sioux Falls, Rochester, Minnesota, Fargo, North Dakota, Sioux City, Iowa, and Brookings.
Just wait. I'm going to be amazing.
All right, so Tim, we're about a week away from Kristi Noem hawking Herbalife. What is going on here?
It's so bad you almost wonder if she's trying to kill her VP nod. The teeth one in particular, it's one thing it's humiliating in its own right to be doing SpawnCon as the governor of South Dakota,
Yeah.
right?
Hashtag SpawnCon, yeah.
Yes, sponsored content for those not in the biz. But like the super zoom on her teeth and gums, it's gross. It's like it was kind of disgusting. And I don't know, Donald Trump is not somebody that likes germs. He doesn't like to shake hands. He acts like he's a man of the people, right? But he's not. Like he is in his little bubble with his little velvet rope in Mar-a-Lago. And so I feel like somebody has to show that to Donald Trump, and they're like, I don't know if I can pick this woman as my VP, like getting the super close up of her gums and knowing that allegedly she had an affair with Corey Lewandowski in the past. I mean, a lot of it. So I don't, it's hard to understand. I mean, at least on the second one where she's, I guess, promoting the insoles, at least it's a South Dakota company. So you can kind of, it's cringy, but you can kind of say, oh, hey, I'm the governor, I'm supporting this local company. But to do it right on the heels of the teeth infomercial, it's kind of hard to grasp how if it's not intentional, then I think that maybe she's just really dim and doesn't understand like how this looks when she's supposedly on the short list to be the vice president.
Well, on the flip side, do you think that this is her pitch to the Trump team to show that she can shamelessly enough grift to be able to fit in Trump's White House?
Yeah, it's an interesting theory. I don't know. I think it's been pretty clear how shameless she is in groveling to Donald Trump for a long time now.
Yeah.
And I remember, I forget the exact circumstance, but there was something, there was some crisis happening in South Dakota that she's supposed to be dealing with, and she left, the state to fly to a Trump event in order to support him. She got a lot of blowback from that in the state. And so, for a long time, she's been pretty slavishly and ostentatiously advancing the Trump line. So I don't know why, doing Smile Texas would demonstrate her willingness to grovel and to grift even more. But maybe that's what's going through her, or maybe like she just needs cash. I do think that there's something to the fact that a lot of these politicians, get used to the limelight. They like being on the private jets. They like that lifestyle. And, we saw this with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I don't know if you saw this story where, she went to the Super Bowl and was, kind of living the high life at the Super Bowl, a very expensive Super Bowl. And there's an investigation currently going on over whether Arkansas taxpayers were paying for that. Right. So I think that there's some element to that. But man, I don't know. Sometimes Occam's razor on these sorts of things is that this person just isn't very smart.
Well, I know this is the most futile exercise in politics, but what do you think Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham would have said if Joe Biden, or God forbid, Barack Obama, ever posted some SpawnCon hawking sneakers or dental work?
Yeah, I mean, the Veep like treatment of Kamala Harris, for example. I mean, just the mockery on the right. I mean, Kamala Harris gets mocked, for stuff that isn't even that big of a deal, right? Like they're obsessed with trying to tear her down and make her seem stupid or try to make her seem like she is shameless or whatever. And so yeah, no, I mean the right would have had a field day with this. And I do feel like sometimes a lot of times left-wing media is like hesitant to want to like really go for the full tomahawk dunk on these sorts of things because
Yeah.
you don't want to seem sexist or whatever. I get, which is like a legit, coming from the right, like having been an Oppo man on the right, like our instincts is always like go for the jugular. So like I see the Christy Nome thing, and it's like kill her in the crib. Like this woman can never be VP now. Like full
Yeah.
surround sound attacker, and you don't get that as much from the left. But if the tables were turned, that's what the right wing media ecosystem would be doing.
Did that make it easier for you knowing that there was like that there was an asymmetry there in terms of right versus left oppo?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that you always thought so back when I was doing Republican campaigns, there was some. I do think we felt like sometimes we had an advantage on the fact that we were willing to go there in places where we knew that the Democratic campaigns would kind of clutch their pearls
Yeah.
and talk
Yeah.
around it and say, oh, do we want to do this? Do we not? And so that was an advantage. On the other hand, sometimes it's in a bubble, right? And so you're like, so it depends on what kind of races you are, because like the mainstream media isn't going to pick up, there are going to be certain places where the mainstream media is not going to pick it up, and you hear from Republican strategists all the time how the mainstream media is biased against. Everybody thinks the media is biased against them, so I think that it was definitely something an asymmetry we were aware of, though.
Well, another new darling of the right is potential RFK Jr. vice presidential pick, and that's Aaron Rodgers, who reporting now suggests dipped his toes into some Sandy Hook false flag conspiracy theories. Here's Jesse Waters reacting to that.
This has to be the dirtiest hoax in history. A CNN anchor overheard Rodgers say that the Sandy Hook shooting was staged at a Kentucky Derby party 12 years ago, and decided to report this the day after he was named Kennedy's possible VP. Pam Brown didn't report this when Rodgers was all over the news during COVID. Didn't report it when he was traded to the Jets. Didn't report it when he started dating Danica Patrick. Come on. And the other source is an anonymous source. Who is it? Christopher Steele? That's not journalism. That's like a chop block designed to end a career.
Okay, so one, Jesse Waters doesn't seem to understand why a political news outlet would only report about someone once they become a political figure, a potential political figure. So that's the first thing that he doesn't seem to be able to wrap his head around. But two, what's with the incredulousness about conspiracy theories? Like, if not for conspiracy theories, what would the right talk about? We've got Pizzagate, we've got microchips and vaccines, Obama birtherism, bamboo fibers and ballots. And yet now Jesse Waters thinks it's crazy to believe that a right-winger might actually believe a conspiracy theory?
Have you heard about the First Lady of France being a man? Candace Owens did 2 episodes on that this week. 2 episodes.
That is why I couldn't figure out. I'm the very bifurcated media ecosystem. I couldn't figure out why Candace Owens was in my feed so much, but I guess that explains it.
Yeah, that is why. Yeah, I like to check in on Candace and Bannon once a week, both of them, just to know what's happening out there in the right wing universe. And this week I was really in for a surprise when I realized that almost all of Candace's content this week was about her theory that the vice president of France is actually a trans woman. Anyway, like, this is to your point. The conspiracy, the crankery is these folks stock and trade, right? And the only thing that they like to do more, to my earlier point about how Republicans always thought the media was out to get them, the only thing they like to do more than dabble in conspiracies is complain about the mainstream media, right? And so for a Jesse Waters, like, this is, you're hitting right in the strike zone where you can be like, CNN, he comes up with his own conspiracy about how CNN made this up and created a fake source. And it's like, and just as you were saying, it's all ridiculous. Well, it's very obvious what happened. It's that quarterbacks and top level media figures on cable networks sometimes socialize in the same thing, like they're at the Kentucky Derby, like they're in the same box or whatever. This reporter finds herself hearing this very strange football player telling her this like pretty disturbing and dark conspiracy about Sandy Hook and about the government was involved and there are black people in black in the woods around the school and how the kids are actors. And she's like, this is gross, but it sticks with you. You remember it when an NFL quarterback says something crazy like that, but you can't go back to CNN the next day and be like, hey, can I do a story about this weird theory some random quarterback told me, right? Like, that's not a CNN story.
Yeah.
But then as soon as your name is floated to be a vice presidential candidate, yeah, that stuff becomes a story again. It's pretty important what potential vice presidents think. And so not that, like, he's really a potential vice president, but you never know, right? In theory, if you're putting your name on the ballot as a possible vice president, you need to deal with the scrutiny of that. And, again, we don't really know whether he'll be the pick. I think it's interesting to note that RFK Jr. said he was announcing the pick in Oakland, and Rogers went to school in Berkeley, which is right there, right next to Oakland. So, maybe this is all just kind of a PR stunt kind of thing. But even still, I don't think that it's out of the question.
One last one, while we're on the topic of Sandy Hook conspiracy theorists, I would like to draw your attention, Tim, to this Alex Jones tweet with the quote, "I will eat your leftist ass." Your reaction?
No thanks. Not my type, Alex. I didn't know this one was coming, but you didn't prep me for this question, but I did see this tweet because I'm a sick person and I'm in the MAGA media all the time and I'm on Twitter too much and on social media too much. So yeah, I think that was a miss. I think that was a miss. I don't think that he really thought about it. It's only 4 words, so you would think that maybe he would have vetted that a little bit. It doesn't take a lot of vetting, but I'd call that one a whiff.
I'm not sure if you saw the follow up though. Have you actually seen his follow up of that?
I saw one of those follow ups that it was like, he did a quote tweet of it where he had a very long explanation for what he meant.
And the explanation naturally...
I was kind of like, I'm not going to read that.
Well, the explanation naturally went into cannibalism and how 10 days without food and over 80% of people start eating each other. You guys want to bring down civilization, so I just wanted to warn you, good luck.
So he's saying he was serious. He is going to eat our ass. If we're in an end times cannibalism situation, he is going to munch on our ass.
Yeah.
That's a pretty dark thing, and these people are in. It's funny and we can make fun of them, but I gotta tell you, man, I was listening to a Trump speech this week, and he's back to the American carnage stuff. America is awful. Everything's falling apart. The world's coming apart. And my kind of parting message to everybody is like, things are pretty good, actually. I mean, we have a real threat to democracy out there for Trump, but we are not on the precipice of cannibalism and societal collapse out here.
Yeah.
Throughout all of history, about 99% of people throughout all of history would die to live right now in America. I think we're living in a land of plenty right now. So Alex Jones listeners, Trump, if you have friends in this world, try to bring them back from the precipice. Get a nice cream cone. That's a nice thing to eat.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, that seems like the right place to leave off with Alex Jones's promises of delving into leftist asses. So with that said, for those watching right now, if you want to see and hear more from Tim, please check out his YouTube channel that's at The Bulwark. I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. Following Tim and listening to him more throughout the week will help build up this coalition that we're building to make sure that the Donald Trumps and the Alex Joneses, for that matter, don't ever come close to the levers of power in this country. So again, link is on the screen and also in the post description of this video. I'm Brian Teller Cohen.
I'm Tim Miller.
This is Inside the Right.